This video will show you 3 ways to unlock your brain's full potential. I'm going to share with you practical tools and mindsets that can radically change the way we view ourselves so that we're able to live up to our full potential. Welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron and I help people expand their consciousness. Now in this video, I'm going to be sharing some practical mindsets that I've used in my own life. I'm going to intertwine that with some science and some research studies so that we can apply these powerful tools in our own life so that we're able to live to our full potential. So I've shared this study before in a prior video, and it's the study where it was done on students and a teacher. And what they did is in 5th grade classroom, what they did is they told the teacher that these kids are the smart kids and these are the kids that are going to underperform. So what happened is the teacher then treated and had those certain expectations as to which kids were the smart kids and which kids were the kids that were going to underperform. And what happened is those kids lived up to the expectations and the way the teacher was treating them. Now what they did is halfway through the year, they said, oh, there's been a mistake. Actually, these kids are the smart kids and these kids are the kids that are going to underperform. So they switched it. What happened is then those kids lived up to the expectations once again, and it switched. So it's like almost the way the teacher was treating the kids was the way and the kind of expectations were being fulfilled based upon how the teacher was treating them. So what this tells us is that we can treat ourselves in a certain way, we can have a certain mindset for ourselves, and as we live up to that potential, we're more likely to break through those limitations and to start to really experience what we are capable of. So the first way that we can really unlock our brain's full potential has to do with letting go of the limitations that we put on ourselves and starting to really view ourselves as able to accomplish more. So let me ask you a question. How do you view yourself? What is your full potential? Do you believe that you're only using a small percentage of your brain? You know, they say that a lot. They say that we only use 10% of our brain. In actuality, we're using 100% of our brain. The neural networks in our brain are using every area of our brain, but the idea is that maybe we're not focused and we're not thinking big enough so that we're able to use a greater percentage of its potential. So redefine it first off and realize you use 100% of your brain. It's just that we make it look like we're only using 10% because we tell ourselves that over and over again. And while there may be so much more potential than what we've already experienced, the first part of this is letting go of the definitions and the limitations that we put on ourselves of what we think we are capable of. You know, there's many times that people will kind of trick people into thinking that they can do something just to see how they respond. And if they tell them it's easy, they'll go do something that's hard, but they'll think it's easy and it will be easy for them. So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So let me ask you, how do you view yourself? And that was something that I went through because up until a certain point in high school, I think it was my freshman year in high school, I used to not be good at school. I just wasn't good at taking tests. I didn't have a good GPA. I wasn't taking honors classes. And there was something that, I remember it was an English class, and there was something that triggered for me where I simply started to view myself as somebody that was smart. I kind of let go of that old label of just not being that smart or not doing that well in school. All of a sudden, I started to do much better. And within a year, I was taking honors classes. I had a 3.8 GPA when I graduated. I think I graduated at like the top 40 of my class of like, you know, hundreds of people. And it simply came from switching and starting to see myself as somebody that was smart versus before seeing myself as somebody that wasn't as capable. So the way that you can apply this in your own life is to first off start to see yourself as somebody that is smart. Start to see yourself as somebody that figures things out, maybe has a high EQ as well as IQ, which means emotional intelligence, able to read people in a powerful way. This is about understanding that this goes beyond just the knowledge of regurgitating information that we may learn in school, but if you start to view yourself as someone that's quick-witted, someone that has high EQ, emotional intelligence, you'll find that that starts to really affect you in a powerful way because you start to read people in a new way. You start to live to your full potential rather than the limitations we set on ourselves because we're like, oh, I can only accomplish this much. oh, I'm not that smart, I can't figure that out. That person over there, he's pretty smart, that's why he's experienced that. But what we can do is realize that we can remove those limitations and understand that we're using a greater portion of our brain. We're using our whole brain to make it seem like we're only using 10%, but that 10% is the limitations we set on ourselves. Realize you can let go of those definitions, start to view your own self-image in a very powerful way, and you'll find that you start to live up to that self-image. Now, the second way that we can unlock our brain's full potential has to do with letting go of what we think we know. Now, the reason I say this too is because when it comes to understanding brainwave states, Einstein said that you can't solve a problem from the same level of consciousness that it was created. Now, I was listening to, I think, a Tony Robbins seminar the other day, and something clicked for me. I realized something. Think of this in the form of brainwave activities. So we have first off like the more relaxed state, or kind of like the in-between sleep and being awake, which we could call the theta state, which the theta state is something we reach in deep levels of meditation. When we wake up in the morning, we'll normally drifting in between a theta state. Then we get to more of an alpha state, and in an alpha state, that's more of the relaxed state. We can be conscious. If we're like watching television, we might be in an alpha state. If we're very relaxed, we might be in an alpha state. In meditation, we also get into an alpha state, and then we get into the beta state. Beta state's the very alert state. It's when we're more of doing medial activities, and it's the more surface level of consciousness. Now, the idea is that the beta state a lot of times can involve stress, it can involve more of the medial type things, and what happens is if we create a problem from the beta state of brainwave activity, what happens is we can't actually solve it from that same level of paradigm. What we must do is move to a more alpha state, and in the alpha brainwave state, we're more likely and able to accomplish and solve the problems of any state and problem that was created in a beta state. Now, in the same way, what we can begin to learn to do is to access these different levels of brainwave states, and as we do that, what we do is we unlock our true potential for what we can accomplish, because we are literally ascending beyond the prior limitations and that prior paradigm of thinking. So think of this in the form of when you are feeling a certain way, and maybe you find yourself and you are feeling very jittery, or you find yourself reacting or stressful to a certain thing that's happening, what you can do is take some deep breaths, oxygenate your body. As you do that, you're literally bringing more oxygen into your brain. You're making it more likely that you surpass that level of consciousness so that you're able to then experience a new perspective. You know, I thought about this because many times I'm in the shower, and in the shower, I get kind of, my thoughts start to really calm down. It's like when I'm taking a shower, it's like I'm able to come up with very creative ideas. And I thought to myself, why am I so creative while I'm taking a shower? I think of all these really great video ideas. I come up with all these cool, like, unique ideas of infusing different ideas together. And what happens is I realize that when I'm in the shower, I'm in an alpha state. I'm in a very relaxed state, and I'm able to access this new level of creativity. So that's what we can begin to do. Begin to learn there's certain times throughout the day when you're more relaxed than others. There's certain activities that will bring you into an alpha or a theta state, and that could be also meditation. And then you're going to be accessing more creativity. Now, at the same time, this is something that Einstein also said, is that imagination is so powerful. So it's about understanding we can transcend logic, we can get into imagination, and in imagination there's much more ability to make new connections in our brain, to see things in a completely new point of view. It's almost like we get out of the paradigm for the way that we're thinking, and we expand outwards when we start to use our imagination. So use your imagination, become more creative, don't take everything so literal, don't think it's all about logic. Use also the right side of our brain as well as the left side of our brain. We can use logic for certain things, but realize that we can balance it out by seeing things from a creative point of view and starting to get outside of our own comfort zone, starting to get outside of our own paradigm, and we can transcend the beta state, start to be in more of an alpha state. If we're in an alpha state, we can also meditate, get to a theta state, and we can start to see our life in a completely new way, and really a completely holistic way at the same time. This is a way that I've applied to my own life to be more creative, to allow myself to make new neurosynaptic connections in my brain to new ideas, so I'm able to think in a completely new way. And if you apply it in your own life, you'll find that you're able to solve problems that were created in the lower paradigm, and you're able to then find out and allow it from a higher paradigm. So Simply realize that that's something that you can do, and that as you do it, you'll find things get easier because you're coming at it from a higher point of view. Now, the third way to unlock your brain's full potential has to do with understanding the power of our own state of being. Now, with this, you may have experienced this before. Have you ever felt resistance about something and you found yourself not able to remember maybe something very simple? Maybe you weren't able to remember your own phone number, or maybe you were looking for something that was right in front of your face, but you couldn't see it because of the state of being you were in. Maybe you went over to the counter and you were inside your cabinets and you were looking for salt and you couldn't find the salt, and you kept telling yourself, I can't find the salt. And in reality, it was right in front of you the whole time, but because maybe you were feeling resistance, you kind of blocked it out and you kept telling yourself, I can't find it, and that became a self-fulfilling prophecy. So that's kind of the way our brain works. Our brain will tone out certain things depending on our own state of being, the emotions that we're feeling, and also the self-fulfilling prophecies of what we tell ourselves. Now with this, understand that anytime you find yourself feeling not so well, or you find yourself feeling resistance, that encapsulates a certain level of brainwave activity that you're using. This is also kind of similar to the second one of understanding the alpha brainwave states and how we must transcend the lower paradigm in order to use more potential that we have. So just get yourself to a place of feeling better. Understand that when you're feeling more curious, when you're not making everything so serious, you're not making it so rigid. You're not putting yourself in a little bubble that also has those definitions from the first one as well. So this is about knowing that our own state of being is dictating how much of our brain we're able to use. I know that when it comes to creating videos, when I'm in a flow state, when I'm in a state of being that is feeling like everything is coming to me, it like feels just everything's happening at the right time, everything happens so easily. But the moment I feel resistance or I start to beat myself up, I find that things start not to flow that smoothly. So the idea behind this is knowing that figure out and feel where you're coming from. And as you decide to feel better, this can be a simple decision. You're gonna focus on what makes you happy. You're gonna go take a break from doing something. And you're gonna let go of the resistance. As you start to feel better, you'll start to access other parts of your brain. You'll find yourself expanding outside of those limitations that you put on yourself. And from that place, you'll find that things happen in a much easier way. And as you tap into that flow state, everything will begin to change. So remember to use your brain's full potential. All you have to do is first off have the self-image that you are smart, that you have a high EQ as well as IQ, which means emotional intelligence. Decide to let go of your own definitions, your own limitations. Question your own limitations. Ask yourself, is this true for me? You'll realize it's just an attachment to a certain experience or a certain ideology. And as you let go of those self-fulfilling prophecies, you're able to expand your own potential. Secondly, as you decide to go deeper than the own level of consciousness that maybe the problems were created, as you decide to get to a more relaxed state, what you do is you start to see things from a higher point of view. So find out what your flow states are, find out when you're in those states of being, and start to be creative from that point of view. And then thirdly, your state of being is so powerful in this process. Simply choose to feel happy, choose to focus on things that serve you, and as you develop that momentum, you'll find that you break out of those limitations and you start to really live up to your full potential. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already. Also, hit that little notification gear right next to the subscribe button so that you're able to see the daily vids that I do. And other than that, I will see you guys on the next vid. Peace, much love, namaste.